Well, welcome to ATGLive, your Thursday night home for all things Acolyte, apparently, because holy cow, that's the only thing really that anybody's been talking about. No, this is your Thursday night home for all things Star Wars. I'm Pete Flitzer. I'm one of your two hosts. I'm joined, as always, by my good friend Nick Milky. Nick, what's going on, brother?
Man alive, running around, living the life, living the dream, having Thursday. Normal Thursday, work, children, family. Just had an 8-year-old come and tell me that she was hungry. Mind you, She ate supper about 45 minutes ago, but it's summertime, and at my house, summertime bored means hungry. So I just,
I just disappointed
an 8-year-old.
It wasn't some random stranger on the street that just came into your house.
It wasn't. Right? Yep. It was my 8-year-old, the one I'm responsible for.
That's comforting. Well, hey,
theoretically,
we are part of the SSW network. This is ATGLive. This is where you hang out every Thursday night. Thank you so much. If you're a return visitor, thank you very much. And if this is your first time checking this out, thank you. Thanks for checking us out tonight. Tonight we have a very special guest. We are joined by Sawyer, aka Sawyeurism, aka the host of a brand new podcast called Yapsesh, and she is going to we're going to talk a little bit about her and her fandom and what makes her voice so unique in the fandom, and I think you're gonna have a lot of fun with her. But if you want to keep up with when to find us, where to find us, what's happening, the best thing to do, see those things on the screen, right? I guess so. It's this way, right? So the website, the sswnetwork.com, is the best place to find all the stuff. You'll find links to all our social media channels. You'll find links to our merch shop, which is we have some new shirts in the works right now, which are going to be coming in there. And if you use the code SHIELD15, you'll get 15% off your entire.
What was the one from last week I forgot about? Jakku USA.
Jakku USA, yeah. So that one will be showing up pretty soon. Also, you can join our Patreon program if you love hanging out with us and you're like, what else can I do for these guys? I watch their show.
Give me some more of that.
Give me more of that. Join the Patreon program. So for as little as $3 a month, when we do our Around the Galaxy episodes and our podcast, The Wheels episodes, when we record the long form podcast, you will be getting a link so that you will be in the private chat, and we'll be able to talk directly to our guests along with us and give them questions and answers. And well, hopefully you can give them questions and they'll give you answers. Is probably the best way for that to work. But Nick, am I forgetting anything else in the housekeeping?
I don't know if you're forgetting anything. We do still have a phone line. We haven't had any calls in the last little bit.
Yes, that's true.
504. I don't have it normally.
321-1501. 504-321-1501. Yes.
Call us. Leave a voicemail. Now that Acolyte is on, this is what you need to do with this voicemail. Call us and leave us your thoughts. Tuesdays. Acolyte is coming out on Tuesdays at a reasonable hour for everyone on all the coasts and middle parts of this country. So when you finish the Acolyte, the new episode on Tuesday night, call us and leave us some thoughts. What did you think? What is the conspiracy? Holy hell. We have chair droids. The fact that I'm not inundated already with chair droid messages is a crime because I'm obsessed. I don't know why. I rewound it twice because I was like, did I really just see what I saw? And I did. We have chair droids in Star Wars. But
I think that's what's been missing from Star Wars.
That's it. We fixed it. Dave Filoni, Leslie Headland, Kathy Kennedy, you did it. Cheers. But yeah, call us, leave us a message. Tell us your thoughts. Give us good thoughts. We'll play them on the air. That's a part of, we haven't had a show on for a while, a week-to-week Disney Plus show. We had Bad Batch, so we did get a little bit of feedback about that. But this is what phone lines are made for. Call, leave us your thoughts right after, in the moment. You're excited, you're mad. You're going to realize I'm right, that Yord's kind of a piece of crap, but we'll get to that later. Call us and leave us a message. 504-321-1501, I believe.
There you go. That is it. 504-321-1501.
No, call us, leave us a message. Do the thing.
Do the thing. Awesome. Well, hey, there was other news, though, this past week. And Nick, let's hit the news. Nick, what do you got for news?
Sir. We're back. What do I have for news? We have news. Let me pull up my happy little prompter because I wanted to get a couple of key details here. The game Star Wars Hunters has finally released. Finally, it was announced. I had to go back and look it up because I couldn't remember. It feels like maybe this is only second to Grand Theft Auto 6, but Star Wars Hunters was announced in 2021.
Is that what it was mistaken?
Announced? That was when we were at Star Wars Celebration in Anaheim, which was in 2022. I believe they had a display up. They had some demo versions. I think Jack played it a little bit. I did not make it over there to play it. But seeing the videos online, seeing the game presented, I thought this seems like right up my alley. Something mindless I could play on my phone. Star Wars Hunters allows players to take the role of one of a number of fighters, each with their own skills and combat style, to fight for glory in a player versus player 4-on-4 arena. The game takes place, there's a little story here, after the fall of the Empire on the planet Vespara, where gladiators compete in various arenas, many themed to look like planets we're familiar with, such as Endor and Tatooine. The trailer, which we got before the game called out, shows a mode called Control, where the teams, including a Mandalorian, an Ugnaught riding a droideka, Reeve, a Sith, and Jedi, a droid programmed to believe he's a Jedi, battle to keep control of key areas of the map, kind of areas A, B, and C. We're familiar with that in Battlefront 2. Kind of like capture the flag, capture an area. And there's also a Wookiee, a bounty hunter, an ex-stormtrooper, and of course, the roster is capped off by the one that everybody enjoyed the most, Utuni, a character that is comprised of two Jedis standing in a trench coat on each other's shoulders. The game dropped on June the 4th. It actually came out that evening, the 3rd. I got a notification on my phone that Hunters was ready to download. So I jumped in, downloaded it, started playing. I have some thoughts about it, Pete, but it's an easy, low-stakes challenge, easy, kind of mindless fun. Have you had a chance to play yet? And what do you think so far?
I have had a chance to play. It is actually, it's gotten me to, well, first of all, I had to ask Jack, hey, where is the Switch? We knew it was somewhere in the house, and it got me to download it. And I played it. I suck at these games. I always feel like there's some kid in Nebraska who's like 6 years old that's just shooting me out of the sky in every game, whether it's Fortnite. And but I had fun with it. I think it's kind of cool. I think it's kind of fun. It's weird. I mean, it's not. It's definitely here. Let me rephrase that. It's not weird. It's definitely aimed at a younger age point, right? My son Jack got it, and first thing he said was, Dad, have you downloaded it yet? Because he was playing it on his phone. I said no. He said, you have to do it, we have to play. And I did, and I played three or four rounds. I was like, okay, cool. But I mean, this is not my type of game, but right. That's just who I am. But what about yourself?
It's fine. I'm playing it on my phone because I don't have a Switch. I'm not fancy like that. For those of you that haven't downloaded yet, trying to figure out how you're going to do that, it's iOS, Android, and Switch. It's not on the major platforms at this point. Right. But it's fun. It's mindless little fun. Like I said, if I'm, I need 10 minutes of brainless time in between meetings at work, or, when you're doing your important thinking during the day, whatever it is, it's just fun. It's easy. I have some little quibbles. I wish you could change out the weapons between the characters because I want like a stormtrooper with a lightsaber. Right. I'm not a big fan of the Wookiee with the two K2 droid arms as clubs. Like, it's funny, but I don't want to have to get close enough to hit people. I want to shoot people. That's my move. So it's a lot of fun. I'm excited that it's finally out because I know that it has been available, in Europe or in some other markets for a little bit. And so I would see, following the Twitter feed, updates. Oh, you can now do this. And I'm like, I thought it was a trick. Like, did I miss it? Is it not out yet? But yeah, it's fun. Enjoy it. Knock yourself out. If you don't like it, don't play it.
That's, you know what,
Easy.
I think we just got the endorsement. You're going to see that. You know how this past week, like Molly Damon and
All
everybody
the
was getting their
yes,
names on
all the credits.
the promotion for the for the,
Yep. I'm gonna call up
the
Zynga and say, hey, you can use this. If you don't like it, don't play it.
Zynga, Star Wars Bounty Hunters. If you don't like it, then don't play it. I think that's pretty.
No, that's what we got.
All right. Well, hey, speaking of, I don't know. It's I can't even make a transition from there to there. Nick, you left me hanging on that, so I'm just going to jump in. This past week, the Acolyte did premiere, and we are going to get into it. We're going to share some of our thoughts on it. But what I wanted to talk about specifically was, once again, because I'm going to bang this drum until it happens, and I'm going to use this platform to keep making noise about it, and hopefully you all will help us make some noise on it. Doing the Disney Plus show on a big screen in a movie theater with 150 of your closest, newest, best friends is absolutely the best way to see a Star Wars. First of all, clearly there's an audience for it, because, as you pointed out last week, Nick, within minutes of the tickets being available, it was only in 26 theaters across the country, but every single one of them sold out. And it wasn't because they were giving away free popcorn and a small soda. It was because people wanted to see this. And I was very lucky. I got to go with our old co-host, Chris Ryans, met him. And I also met one of our patrons, Brian Fennessy. Three of us got together. Afterwards, we had dinner with Kerwin from Father Son Galaxy. But it was a Star Wars event. It's what Star Wars is meant to be. As much as I love watching a new show on my big screen TV in the family room, and I love that it's now on Tuesday nights, it's just so much different, so much better, and there's no reason why they can't do it all the time, and not for free. I say do it for a $5 ticket. Get people in there. The people that I met, brand new people, I met fans of this podcast in line waiting for popcorn. It was really cool. It was such a great way to do it. I'd love to see them do it more often. Don't change the price of Disney Plus. Make it available at the same time. But the night that it hits, put it in a theater. Charge me $5. I'll go and hang out with friends.
That's right.
What are your thoughts?
But it's a win all the way around, because if, like you said, if you can't go 1 week, you still get to go home and watch it. It's not like it replaces Disney Plus. It's nothing but a moneymaker for movie theaters. I don't care what the business nerds are going to tell us. The reality is, movie theaters right now are taking a beating, partially because you can wait for something to be out on streaming in about 30 days, if not 100%.
Less. Yep.
On a Wednesday night or a Tuesday night, you can't tell me that the theaters are going to be packed, even in the summertime, even with tent poles and whatever it is that we call summer movie now. A Tuesday night, movie theaters are not going to be packed. But if they charged $5, they're not going to make the money on the ticket. That's fine.
Dude, on a Friday night,
they're going to make if I only paid $5, I would go buy a drink and a popcorn. A large Coke that you pay $9 for is 17 cents worth of Coca-Cola. It's nothing but a moneymaker.
Yep. Open those doors.
I mean, same thing. I was really and sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, and also it comes back to your point. I watched the first 2 episodes with our good friend Jeff Quaglio, another friend of ours, John. We got together. We had a little party to, drink bourbon and watch Star Wars, which why not?
Why not?
But it's exactly the point of, like you said, getting to have that community. I was explaining it to my kids in the car coming home, and they're like, there's probably other people that watched it like y'all did, and y'all could all watch it at the theater together. And I said, that's right. Yeah. I talked about being in New Jersey, watching Phantom Menace and having on my Bad Batch hat. And it was the week that Bad Batch ended, and a random stranger said, hey, I see your hat. What did you think about I'm like, we had a moment.
Yep.
And I'll never see this person again in my life. But it was a connection over Star Wars. And in a time and a place right now where social media divides us and isolates us, and it's easy to just stay home and watch a Star Wars. And sometimes you need to do that for your own mental health. But the ability to get out and have community around Star Wars, that's what Star Wars was built on at the very beginning. Yep. This to me seems like the exact right marketing move for them to push into, because we have other shows on the horizon.
100%. And it builds that relationship. It builds that community that you said that, and you're right, we absolutely need. I mean, I said it before. I went on a Friday night to go see Furiosa. There were 4 people, including myself, in the theater. So, hey, don't tell me a Tuesday night with even 50 people willing to buy some popcorn and a soda is not worth it.
I guarantee you, in Montgomery, Alabama, on a Tuesday night, a Star Wars showing at $5 a ticket would make more than every other movie that's showing, because guess what? People don't go to the movies anymore.
Exactly. Well, Nick, before we go to our first break, you wanted to raise a toast.
I do want to raise a toast. We have brought this back. It's one of my favorite parts of the show. Just, having a moment to share something we're excited about, something we like in Star Wars. And today we're raising a toast one day late because the show wasn't on yesterday. To Kathleen Kennedy. Kathleen Kennedy's birthday was yesterday, June the 5th. And she is an absolute legend in the movie industry. Everything that we love from our childhood, Kathy Kennedy's hands were on it. Yep. And that's, if you take Star Wars out of the equation, it's still everything. It's all the things that we love.
Yep.
She has done so much amazing work. She has really done a lot. And she takes a lot of hits for Star Wars. I don't know what her day-to-day is like. I don't know how much of this gets through and gets to her. I'm sure she's aware of the nonsense that's out there. But for all the times we've been told she's quitting, she's left, her contract's up, she's still there. She's still helping get Star Wars done. Yep. And I want to raise my glass to her tonight. So this one's for Kathy. Happy birthday. And to all of you watching and hanging out, happy Star Wars.
Happy Star Wars. Yes. Awesome. You'll be happy to know that after we saw The Acolyte, we're sitting there having dinner with Kerwin, myself, Brian, and Chris. When we raised our glasses, it was happy Star Wars. So
there we go.
It's happening. It's happening. Well, we're going to take our first break. And when we get back, we are going to be joined by one of the best follows on Twitter, friend of the show, at least through Twitter, our friend Sawyer. So we're going to take our first break. And when we come back, we'll be going into conversation with her. But we'll be back with more ATG Live. We are back. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. If you are joining us for the first time because you're like, hey, if Sawyer's going to be on the show, I'm going to check them out. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. If you're having a good time, please hit the like button. Please subscribe. Please hang out with us. Please join us week to week. Follow us wherever you follow stuff like what we're doing here. But so why don't we, without further ado, let's bring in our guest. We're joined by Sawyer. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Up?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
Awesome. Well, last time we saw you on a screen with these other two faces was when we did our match game show, which I think was almost a year ago. And it's nice to see you again. So how, I got a real quick first question. Maybe we'll dig into it a little bit more, but how are you feeling about The Acolyte? First, just your top level thoughts.
I am having such a blast. I've been waiting for this show since it was announced, and I've been on the High Republic train since the very first drop, Light of the Jedi, in January 2021. So,
wow,
thank you, Wikipedia. So yeah, I'm pretty stoked, and I'm doing watch parties in my server, and it's been just it was just a blast. It was such a breath of fresh air, but it also felt familiar at the same. I love it. I'm super happy.
I'm digging it as well. But and like I said, we'll definitely probably ask you some more questions on your thoughts on that. But let's start for the few people who may not know who you are, who are hanging out with us tonight. Give us a little bit about who you are and your place in the Star Wars fandom.
Well, I am Sawyer, otherwise known as Sawyeurism. And I am a content creator of 4 years now, which is kind of crazy. I'm also a scientist in my everyday life. I don't care what the Twitter people say I am. I do have the right degrees for that. But yeah, I'm known for Star Wars science content. I do a lot of like Star Wars biology, or I have done in the past. I also am really into just inclusivity, making the Star Wars fandom a more positive and more accessible place. I think that when you have a platform, it's really important to use it in meaningful and productive ways, and so that's really important to me.
I love that, that's one of the reasons I think I started following you, is because well, first of all, there's the Star Wars biology stuff, which was really very interesting. And I saw in the private chat you were talking to Lloyd. Looks like you're going to hopefully bring that back at some point.
Yeah, I'm trying to start a new series. I thought like, oh, what it might be interesting if I do a like Star Wars science class style video.
That's cool.
Where I maybe I can actually teach real science concepts through Star Wars. I'm trying to do that, but I may have to bring the species thing back because people really did like it. But TikTok is not the same platform as it used to be. I'm trying to post more on Instagram and YouTube because if you're not rocking with the TikTok shop, they do not put your content out anymore. So
yeah, it is funny. I mean, not that we were getting millions of views, but I certainly have seen over recently, like we've just been kind of taking a little bit of a dip there. But Nick, I'm sorry, you were going to ask a question. Go for it.
That's right. I was just going to say, you mentioned being a content creator for 4 years now, and tell us about how you got started in that. What were the first things you did? Kind of give us a little bit of the cliff notes of your journey into social media, bringing you to where you are now.
So I think I have a very similar story as to a lot of other people, in that COVID was a Kickstarter. At the time, TikTok was known as this up and coming social media platform where anybody could go viral for any reason. And I started not making Star Wars content. And then there was like a trending sound that was like rank the movies, rank the Star Wars movies. And that went viral for the wrong reasons. But then a lot of positive creators like duetted it and were like, hey, stop bullying this girl for her opinion. And that got me my first 1,000 followers. And then that took off. I'm big on lore. I have always been big on lore. So I that's kind of where I started when I started to develop my own identity as a content creator, besides just doing trends. But yeah, like I said, I mean, not to repeat myself, but I think that my relationship to content creation has, as I've gotten older, has really changed. And I, seeing just the impact of like just one person saying, hey, I bought this book because you recommended it to me. Like, and that was back when I had like maybe 20,000 followers. So if that's the impact that I have on such a small scale, like what could I actually be doing in other spaces? So, and I would encourage, it can be difficult. It's difficult to speak out about issues, and it's difficult to speak your mind. And, it's definitely, I've been guilty of that. It's much easier to just fall back into what feels easy, but I have seen my impact, my minimal impact. And I think everybody should strive to do that more. So, I'm not going to stop anytime soon.
There you go.
Well, you bring up an interesting point and a valuable point, and I don't want to spend a ton of time really talking about some of the challenges. But I mean, I have been victim of some of the challenges as of you. How do you deal with that sort of adversity? Because as you just said, like, hey, I'm not going anywhere. I feel like I have a responsibility. And I think that, to me, that's a really important piece, is if you have an audience, you have a responsibility to kind of speak up. But tell us a little bit about what you've dealt with and how you've dealt with it, and maybe even how it's led to what you're doing now.
Yeah, I mean, I think that just, as a woman existing in. I don't believe that Star Wars is as much of a male-dominated space as it used to be, but it certainly was at some point, and it's gotten more open and more public. I think TikTok especially opened the door for a lot of women to come in and offer their voice to the conversation. But yeah, I mean, there's a kind of default setting that's like, okay, you're a woman, you're talking about Star Wars. That comes with its set of challenges, and I think that, you know, that disproportionately affects queer people and people of color specifically. I think that that's not a conversation that happens as often as it needs to. Like, I'm a woman and I am also queer, so I deal with it. I deal with this shit. Sorry, I don't know if I'm letting
go for it.
We speak French too.
But I deal with my shit, but my friends of color and my you know, my trans friends, people, you know, they deal with some, like, any excuse to bully, like any excuse to bully because you disagree. Not that this is an excuse, but like the way that I see it is that if someone's going online to attack somebody else who disagrees with them, that just opens the door to misogyny or racism or homophobia once, because they're already looking for an excuse to be mean.
Right.
So if that, yeah. So you know, it's tough, and it's pushed a lot of people away from making content. It's pushed a lot of people from speaking about their fandom online, even if they're not making content. You know, it's just pushed them away from community in general, which I think is really unfortunate.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we're all familiar that at the beginning of this year, there was a discourse created about whether or not women belonged in Star Wars.
Yep.
And I ended up being quoted in a Rolling Stone article about my thoughts on the matter. And obviously it's ridiculous. And we know that women like Star Wars and everybody likes Star Wars. People from all walks of life like Star Wars. But it did get me thinking about what kinds of content is out there. And there are a lot of wonderful women and non-binary creators, and you know, some of them have podcasts, some of them are on YouTube. So we're everywhere, but I think that there is a lack of representation in terms of like women-led projects in the Star Wars space. And I've been a guest on many shows, and I try very hard to associate specifically with people who are not like that, but I have been in those spaces, and I've also found myself on shows, even with friends of mine, where I don't know when it's my turn to speak. I don't know when it's appropriate for me to interrupt. I don't even know if people are listening to what I have to say, not because it's anything that my friends are doing wrong, but there's just a different environment. And so I thought, okay, I would like to make a show. I would like to make a space for people, for women, for non-binary people, for voices that are underrepresented in the community to come on and feel like it's a safe space. And when I say safe space, I don't just mean that their opinions are being heard. Like there is, if you go over to Yapsesh, which that's what I'm leading up to, obviously, I hope that you can tell that our podcast is very, very chill. It's very conversational, and we have an outline mostly to keep myself and my amazing co-host Brooke, aka B Dazzler. If you don't follow her, I don't know what you're doing. She is an incredible player. She's the biggest Last of Us fan on the planet. She is so talented and so passionate, and every single time she talks about Star Wars, I feel stupid because her thoughts are so insightful. But yes, anyway, all that to say, Yapsesh is our show. It's what we created. I originally planned to do it by myself, and then I had this thought like, gosh, it'd be so great if Brooke wanted to do this with me, but I was too nervous to ask her. And then she texted me out of the blue, and she was like, hey, do you need any help with this show you're doing? And I was like, I'm so happy you asked. She's wonderful, and she's the one making the comments right now. So please go check out Yapsesh. Every 2 weeks we do an episode that's just the two of us yapping about. We just posted one about The Last of Us. We're going to do Fallout, The High Republic, stuff that we just like to talk about. And but other than that, we've had some really, really wonderful conversations with people from all across, people who are in more of a professional standpoint. With, you know, we've talked to journalists, we've talked to historians, we have talked to other creators. We're talking to Molly Damon, who is a friend of mine, in a couple weeks, and we're also I don't know if this is the right time in the show for this, but we're also doing a Pride fundraiser right now that is going to culminate in a hopefully very exciting Star Wars Spelling Bee live event on June 26th.
Nice.
With a lot of really cool creators who have agreed to do it. The fundraiser we're raising for Point of Pride, which donates medical care to trans people in the US. Very personal charity to myself, so that's why we picked it. And so the fundraiser is going on now. You can find all the information on our socials about that. But the big bad wonderful live stream chaos is going to be on June 26th, and I'm very excited for that. But yeah, I guess I should also say this is the first time that I've gone on a show talking about Yapsesh. So yeah, I didn't write out notes, but I will say that we are really setting an emphasis on having femme and queer fans on the show. We love you, men. You're great. We want your support, and we want you to enjoy our show.
Yeah,
but it is not meant to be exclusionary.
We may not be that great, but that's okay.
No. We definitely like for our live events and we're doing the re-yap. That's our post Acolyte show. That's what we're calling it. Like, you're always welcome on for those things. But I have had a couple DMs that are like, "Is your show only for girls?" And I'm like, "No, dude, that's not what we're doing here. Like, it's not what the point is." But I do hope you'll check us out, because I think I'm very, very passionate. I haven't been this passionate about a project in a really long time, and it just makes me feel good to, you know, it just feels different to me as a host, but also in talking to other people. But I don't know. I'm biased, but I think we've got something really special going on. So
that's awesome.
That's fantastic. Yeah. Well, I want to follow up on that a little bit, because you talked about, you know, you've been doing content creation for the last 4 years. You're at a place now where you're very inspired, which is amazing. It obviously comes through in your energy. It comes through, you know, in what you're talking about. But you've also been through the shit. You have dealt with a lot of nonsense. You have dealt with a lot of the, you know, people coming after you. And so I want you to, if you can, for us, because I admire so much exactly what you said. I'm not going anywhere. You're here. You're going to continue to do stuff. What inspires you when you're dealing with the nonsense, when you're dealing with the people that don't have anything better than to come after and attack you? What are the things that inspire you? What fills you up? What gets your coaxium tank jacked back up, ready to head back out into hyperspace? Because that takes its own kind of resolve. And I think that that's something special that you're doing, is channeling that, finding a community, any number of things that you're doing that's allowing you to go, you know what? I do want to be here. I want to keep doing this, not going, yeah, you're right. Fuck it. I'm out. You're here. Talk to me a little bit about, where do you find that strength?
Yeah. You know, I have, you know, this is not limited to the internet. Misogyny is everywhere in the world. Right. Also, I work in STEM, so like there's stigma there that I have to deal with. I think, to me, first of all, I am a lot more resilient than I was when I started making content. Sure. I think right out the gate with my content like creation story with me, like my first video to go viral was viral because people hated my opinions. So that has been day one. People have had shit to say to me. But, you know, I think at the end of the day, things that I encounter in the real world are far more intense. And I don't know. I guess it's kind of empowering to have, like, I don't know. Maybe I could sit here and tell you that I'm autistic and I don't feel shame. Like, that is just not an emotion I have ever had. I don't know if y'all saw when I walked out of the house today, but
I did see your picture. Yes, I was.
For those of you who don't follow me on Twitter, my partner let me walk out of the house in my Jar Jar Binks hat, Lightning McQueen Crocs, a Shadow the Hedgehog sweatshirt, and what else was I wearing? Oh, like a Star Wars shirt underneath.
Yeah, I think a Luke Skywalker t-shirt or something. Yeah.
That it doesn't even occur to me, and I realized, I was like, wait, I think somebody gave me a weird look. And then I was like, oh my God, I saw myself in a window and I was like, what the fuck am I wearing? Who let me do this? But yeah, I don't, that's part of it. I don't feel shame at all. I never have. That's just not something that so if someone's mad at me for my appearance, that's never bothered me, so I think I do have like a little bit of built-in strength there. But I do have to say that there is a certain empowerment that comes with, like, that many people are upset that I said something, but It's not just that they're upset that I said something. They're upset that I said something and that enough people are interacting with it to agree with me. That demographic doesn't like to see people like me win. Right. So, I think what used to be anxiety of like upsetting people, once you're able to let go of like, it doesn't, once you're able to establish that you're entitled to your own opinions and that you've put in the hard work enough for other people to actually care what your opinions are, shout out to my Discord, because that is a wonderful community of people that always have my back. And that's just really, really great. But I just laugh it off. It's like, I think there's a certain creator who is a particular big fan of me.
Remember, if they're following you, whether they like you or not, they're a fan.
Yeah. And he sends his trolls into my server sometimes, and they get screenshots and stuff, and it's like, you're obsessed. I don't know, like, I feel bad. I should send you a rent check, right? Like, I don't know. It's not I don't know. So I don't know if that's the answer you're looking for, but I think over time you build thick skin, and like I said, people like that, they usually go for very low hanging fruit. And I am very fortunate. I have my dream career, and I have a wonderful partner, and I have a wonderful family and friends, and like, I'm good. So anything you're going to say about me is either false or not important to my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me ask you one last question as we come to the end. And thank you again for your time. And this insight has been really, really cool. I want to get a perspective because of the fact, and earlier last week, before the Acolyte came out, Kathleen Kennedy was quoted as saying something, talked about the how difficult it is for women to step into the Star Wars universe. And I think she meant both creators and fans. The response was, and she said it because it is a predominantly male fan base. And yeah, I mean, you're right. I agree. It's not as male as I think. It certainly is not as male as it was 20 years ago. But it's still dominated by men in many cases. My question for you is, because I want to see if you can help people understand, because I'm not very good at being able to speak for it because it's not me. But why was it so important for her to do that? And why was it so important for Leslie Headland to talk about the things she did, and to talk about the fact that, yes, this is a very diverse cast of creators and actors in this? Why is that so important for people to understand? And why is it something worth speaking about?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that, first of all, I want to preface by saying I don't blame people for not understanding that right off the bat. I think that especially when you grow up in privilege, that's not going to be something that becomes immediately obvious to you. And that's something I've had to go through personal growth in my life in that regard. So I don't harbor any resentment for people who don't immediately, I think in my generation, a lot of people want you to just immediately understand. And it's okay if you don't, as long as you're coming at it from the perspective of wanting to learn. So I think it's a good question and an important conversation to have. I think that I likened this on TikTok the other day. I made a video about it. I made a couple videos. My favorite species of frog. We'll get there in a second. I likened it to, do you remember when you were a kid and you first watched Luke Skywalker blow up the Death Star, or Anakin, for people my age, saving Naboo at the age of 10 years old, and you go, that was so cool. He came from nothing. I can be a hero just like that. That's what every little boy sees, when they watch those movies for the first time. And if you can remember that joy from when you were a kid, or however, whenever you were, whatever hero you look up to, what people don't understand unless they've grown up with it, like, a little girl does not grow up. She may grow up in a loving household. She may grow up in a supportive household, but she's going to grow up in a society that expects so much more from her than a little boy. A person of color is going to grow up in a world where there are pressures that we have never experienced. And that starts from the day they're born. The world looks at them differently, and it's not fair, and it's fucked up. Because of that, because of the bias and the pressures that are associated with people who are not white men in the Western world, it is more difficult for us to get that same feeling from watching those movies and feel like, oh, Anakin's just like me. Because, of course, Anakin is from a fictional universe, but when you have a black writer in the room writing a black child, they are going to incorporate their childhood experience into that story. They're going to incorporate the pressures associated with race or gender or sexuality, whatever it is. That child experience is different than a white child experience. That, a little boy's experience, and it's hard to see when you don't, I get it, if that's not your lived experience, you're not going to automatically understand. But because there is, and that's not to say you can't have a good child. Like, I had a great childhood, but I had a childhood that had expectations set upon me just because I'm a woman, a girl. Mm-hmm. So hopefully what I'm saying is making sense. My point is, that's why representation matters, because everybody deserves to leave a movie theater going, wow, that hero is just like me, and I can be whatever I want to be when I grow up, and I can do anything that I want to do when I grow up. And that is not afforded, like I certainly loved Star Wars as a kid. I was a tomboy. I always watched that. But it wasn't until Rey that I felt that, and the other, I essentially in shorter terms, people have women, people of color, and other gender and sexual orientations, our struggles are a little bit different. And so for Rey, a lot of her, I really hate the argument that people are, oh, she doesn't struggle with anything. A lot of what Rey struggled with is her identity and her fitting in the world. And that speaks to a lot of women, I think. A lot of girls, and I have met a lot of girls in my years on doing content creation who were very young when The Force Awakens came out, because it was 10 years ago, and now they're in their late teens. Yeah. And they looked up to Rey growing up because Rey has a very emotionally driven journey. And so hopefully I know that was very long and convoluted, but that is why those conversations are important. And I think I would have liked to have seen a comment from them a little bit earlier this year, or earlier in general, just because of, like I said, what was happening in the community in January. You know, that I believe earned a response that it didn't get. But it is nice to see Kathleen Kennedy in specific, and she herself has dealt with a lot.
Sure. Yep.
Talk about resilience, but you know, and for Leslie Headland, who is a queer woman who did prioritize diversity in her show, you know, it's nice to see that being talked about. And I also think that, again, it comes back to responsibility. You know, as a white person, it's my responsibility to listen to people of color and understand their struggles. And it's also my responsibility to not speak for them, but showcase their voices, uplift their voices. And I think that's what Leslie Headland was doing with her comments. So that's my spiel. I hope you learned something.
Yes. Absolutely. No, that makes a lot of sense. And I find it very troubling / amusing / whatever. I don't even know what the right word is, because when I read things like that, so when the assholes read those sort of things, their first response is, she's saying all men are trash. She's trying to alienate, 80% of the audience of Star Wars. But when I read it, because I'm not an asshole, at least I like to think I'm not, I'm like, oh, cool. Let's see. She's right. It's got to be difficult. And if you can just take your position to understand, and that's all it is. I'm not asking anybody to go, and I don't think she is. I don't think you are. You're not asking people to go out and march in parades. You're not asking people to go and change everything about themselves, but just be more aware, be more open. And, Nick and I say all the time, you don't have to like everything in Star Wars. And you don't have to like everything, period. But you don't have the right to be an asshole about any of it. Right. Yep. If I don't like, if I don't like a Star Wars show, if I lead with the fact that I think it's because Leslie Headland is being diverse, then I've already made my comment about the show. And it's clearly not about the show. It's exposing yourself to what is really happening there. But we could go on for days about that. But we're going to wrap up. And thank you so much for all your time tonight. I really appreciate it. I know you have shows to do, and you're a scientist, so you have important things to do. But maybe give us one more time where we can find you, where we can keep up with you.
Yeah, I mean, you can see my username right here. That's how I got an invite to an event in the city today, and they spelled my username wrong, and I was like, oh no. But that's how you spell it, but there's no U in my actual name. That's the other disclaimer. Yeah, so I'm Sawyeurism on everything. I got really lucky: TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Snapchat, but you're not allowed to add me. Everywhere you want to find me, I'm Sawyeurism, and our show is called the Yapsesh. That's 2 words. Yapsesh podcast. We have a Pride logo right now, so we shouldn't be too difficult to find. And we post every Wednesday at noon. Next week, we are having a spoiler alert conversation with Katrina from Twitter. Wonderful, awesome. Wonderful conversation.
Love her.
Please check us out. And we're also on Spotify. So if that is your cup of tea when it comes to podcasts, we're on Spotify as well. And we'll be covering the Acolyte every 2 episodes as well on Mondays. And donate to our fundraiser.
Yes. Yeah.
Tell us about that one more time too.
Yeah. So the fundraiser is called A Galaxy of Pride. We did this last year, and we raised $1,200 before the podcast was even created. But we're hoping our goal this year is for $2,500. The organization is Point of Pride. We're doing it through Tiltify. There's a lot of really cool rewards that we're offering, Yapsesh merch. And we've got a couple of other, like an Ahsoka beanie. I have a really, really cool rainbow hilted lightsaber if someone donates $500. I've never seen a rainbow hilted lightsaber before. This one's really I don't know where it is. I'd show it off, but it's really cool. If I'm not going to part with it unless someone's really committed to the charity. But yes, please donate. And it's for a really, really great organization. And yeah, the live stream is going to be on June 26th. Kyle Katarn is going to be there. Darth Chaco, Element 7, Tommy Stella, King of Yord Horde on Twitter. And possibly Daniel Jose Older. He gave me a maybe. So
nice.
All good people. All great people. Yep, yes, absolutely.
Yes. Oh, and please follow my co-host and my wonderful dear friend B Dazzler. I'm gonna put her stuff in the chat because the Yapsesh would not be what it is without her. So
fantastic. Well, Sawyer, once again, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Thank you for your insights, and thank you for continuing to fight. And to echo Nick's words, it's some days it's harder to do, I'm sure, but I think one of the amazing things is you will probably never know how many people you help push through some shit that they're dealing with because you were willing to do it. So continue to do that, and we love your content. We love having you on the show, and hopefully we'll see you again soon.
We actually might be bringing Match Game back. We just talked about that earlier this week. So
you'll move from guest to maybe we'll put you up on the panel.
Put you on the panel.
Oh, nice. Frog lore. What frog lore? What do you guys want?
Somebody had a frog lore question. What was the question?
Yeah, Brian Finnessy needs frog lore.
Oh, okay. What do you got, Brian? You got a
question?
I don't
know what. Oh, not my camera doing that thing again. What is the frog lore that you need to know? You get Wikipedia and Brian. You can ask. You can each ask a question about frogs.
Give us your frog questions.
Although I do study specifically lizards, but I have worked with frogs. My favorite frog species. My favorite frog species is oh my god, what they're like the little flat butt ones. What are they called? Hold on.
I hope right now she's Googling flat butt frogs because that's what makes my day.
Your search is screwed from this point forward.
No, it's not that one. Oh my god, I don't remember what it's called. I've seen them on TikTok. They're so cute. They're like this big and they're just like flat butted and they're so cute. I also really like glass frogs. Glass frogs are cool. What's your favorite? Oh, turgle. Turgle's pretty great too. I love turgle. I'm supposed to get a turgle tattoo, but that never ended up happening. Why does Grogu like eating frogs? I don't know, dude. I mean, I
obviously because they're delicious.
I personally am not. I had frog legs once and I couldn't do it. So too slimy for me. But
that's great.
You can always DM me and ask me frog questions.
And follow her at Sawyeurism everywhere. Make sure to catch her everywhere you go. So, well, Sawyer, again, thank you so much. We will talk to you again soon. And I appreciate the time for sure. We appreciate having you on. And we'll be back with more ATG Live. Well, welcome back to ATG Live, your Thursday night home for everything Star Wars, all things Star Wars. I want to thank Sawyer once again for giving us her perspective. Again, if you follow her, she's outspoken and one of the bravest social media voices out there, and it's so great to spend some time with her and get her. And the reason I asked the question about why is it important that what Kathleen Kennedy says, because I think, I mean, you and I, Nick, we even talked a little bit about, was it the right time from a promotional standpoint to do that? And again, looking at it, and not to it's not an excuse or anything, but that, our perspectives, of course, are always very different. And it doesn't, honestly, I say this a lot. It doesn't matter how supportive we are. It doesn't matter how open and kind we want to be. We don't understand the perspective of the people who are going through things differently than us, and it doesn't matter again how open our hearts and minds are to it. We'll never experience it. So it's really important to hear why that's important to them.
Correct. I agree completely, and that applies across so many things, whether it's race, sexuality, gender. I am a boring old white dude, and my experience is not going to be the same as the house full of women that I live with, or my next door neighbor who's black, or, my best friend who's gay. Like that, it is important to realize I'm here, I'm supportive, I'm an ally, but I can't put myself in your shoes. I wish I could. Actually, I don't know if I wish I could, because what I see my friends and the people I love go through is difficult and challenging, and I don't know if I'm as strong as them.
Right.
So
for sure,
to have people like Sawyer, to have so many of our other friends in the queer community, certainly during Pride Month, but honestly, every month of the year, every month is Pride Month. Every month should be Black History Month. Like, these are people whose agency and status and personage is as important, if not more so, than mine, because I'm just a dude who likes to sit in his garage and drink whiskey and talk about Star Wars. They're actually out there doing things. Right. So to have somebody come on, to have Sawyer, to have her voice, and I admired so much what she said about, you just kind of deal with it. Like, eventually you tune out the nonsense. And, I'm sure there are days when somebody gets to her and she has a harder time, but I admire so much the resolve to be able to go, we talk about it all the time with social media. At some point you just have to go, shut up. Like, nobody's listening to you. That, you're just making noise because you want to hear yourself make noise. At some point you just let it go. But absolutely, it's an important, and I love that she was on and shared that with us.
I do too. So we would be the only Star Wars show out there this week that doesn't talk about the Acolyte if we didn't do that. So, Lloyd, let's take a deep dive into the Acolyte.
You started laughing as soon as it played, and I started laughing by the time it burped. So,
yes. Okay, so let's talk about the Acolyte. And actually,
there's some breaking Acolyte news, by the way.
Is it? Oh, what is it?
Variety. This dropped on Twitter just a minute ago. Yes, I did check Twitter during the show. The Acolyte reaches 4.8 million views in one day. Biggest Disney Plus launch of 2024. Nice.
Yeah. Wow. That's great. That is, I mean, because
they don't have full. They don't have. It says an exact first day viewership total isn't available for Ahsoka, the most recent Star Wars series. Though Disney did report that it took 5 days to reach 14 million views. That comes out to an average of 2.8 per day, a good 2 million below the launch of the Acolyte.
There you go. See, all the people who said they hated it.
Yeah, and as a reminder, views are calculated by dividing the number of hours each title is watched by its runtime.
Okay. That's cool. And I love that, because even after they were on, apparently they can report this stuff, even though, while the actors and writers were striking, they said they couldn't. But that's a conversation for another
time. Funny how that changes.
Let's start our thoughts on Acolyte, and then if Lloyd is up to it, I want to hit us with I'll bring him in, and I want to get some theories on who the mysterious Sith Lord is. But before we get to that,
if y'all have thoughts, if y'all have Acolyte stuff, drop it in the chat. We will. Lloyd's watching the chat. He's starring some stuff. So if you've got theories and things and comments we want to hit up, do that. We want to hear from y'all as well.
All right. So Nick, the one thing that I do want to mention, well, first of all, let me just get your thoughts. Did it blow you away? Was it, hey, that's pretty good? Was it, how did you feel about it?
That's pretty good. Yeah. It was, hey, that's pretty good. It didn't blow me away. I was not And it's funny, and of course we say, and I do spend a lot of my time now watching new Star Wars things going, that's in the trailer, that like I'm doing a checklist. Like I'm waiting to go, okay, now we're outside of everything I know. What's exciting, what's new, what's coming in. But from the very beginning, like it opened up, like we saw primarily in the trailer, we see the stuff in the tavern that's right at the super beginning. We see May on what I still think could possibly be Octo. I don't think we got a name on that planet. We got names on planets, which has become a Star Wars
but we
thing.
did not get one on that one. Right.
But I don't think we got one on that planet. So, you know, with the history of that being where the first Jedi Temple was, it looks so much like I'm kind of holding out hope that maybe that's the case. But yeah, it started off, other than that stuff that we had already seen in the tavern with Trinity. You and I both kind of called it. Trinity, you know, spoilers if you haven't watched yet. Trinity doesn't get very
if you haven't
far.
watched it, this is where you turn off the show because we're about to go in.
Yeah, it was good. I was not blown away. I wasn't stunned like, holy crap, I've never thought or saw anything like this before. But I went, that's good. And I think you were the one that either tweeted or texted to me, it's the first thing that you saw that you wished it was all available at one time.
Yeah, absolutely. When I walked out of the first 2 episodes and was in the parking lot with Chris Ryans. See you later, Wikipedia. Thank you for hanging out, guys.
Thanks for being here.
Love having you. Thank you. One of the things that was the first thing I said to Chris Ryans was, I wish I could go home and watch the rest of it right now. It just feels like it's that kind of a show. But yeah, I'm with you. I enjoyed it a lot. I really like it. I have some nitpicks, but I mean, the reality is I have nitpicks on everything Star Wars, and that is what it is. I think it's I like it better after 2 episodes than I liked Kenobi after 2 episodes. I'm really excited about where it's going to go. It's clearly setting up some cool stuff. It had some of the funniest little lines in a Star Wars in a while. It was just it's a really well put together show. The thing is, and this is one thing that I wanted to mention to you, and I texted it to you earlier today. I texted my dad and I said, have you watched The Acolyte? And he said, no, I'll probably get to it this weekend. He said, but I've seen the headlines and it doesn't look like it's that good. And I wrote back to him. I said, it's got a 93% score on Rotten Tomatoes. And again, you know, who knows how valuable is Rotten Tomatoes? Well, it's clearly not valuable at all in the audience score because it was completely review bombed by the assholes. But it's interesting that was the perspective he got, because other than Rolling Stone, who said it wasn't great,
and also apparently Rolling Stone on multiple occasions broke the embargo rules.
They broke the embargo rules, and they made an edit to their story. Yeah, because Siepenwald wrote something pretty dumb about JJ, saying something about his accent was jarring or something. I'm getting it wrong. But it was totally insensitive and inappropriate. And the fact that his accent, I think he delivers some of the most poignant and some of the best lines in the show. So
I think he was the most compelling character in the show from like there's gravitas there. Like somebody said, you know, he gives off a lot of Qui-Gon energy. And I feel like I relate to that. Strong, wise, measured, like this is what you think of when you think of a Jedi Master.
Yep.
You know, the fact that when Osha says, you know, it wasn't me, immediately he's like, I know. Like he's in touch. He knows her. He's a Force user. Like all the different things. It just great character. So to come to that, but I wanted to come back to your point about your dad, because of course my dad called as well, and this is one of our things is our dads in Star Wars.
Yep.
He called me yesterday at some point in the morning. And I was in a meeting, so I called him back. And of course, I'm at that age and stage in life. Like if my parents call me, I automatically like, what's wrong? Why are my parents calling?
Why are you calling?
And so I called him back and I was like, hey, I'm sorry I was in a meeting. And he goes, oh, it's fine. He's like, I just wanted to talk about The Acolyte. And I'm like, oh, okay. What did you think? He was like, I really liked it. He was like, I'm interested to see where it's going. Like very down the line, middle of the road. I liked it. I enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to seeing where it's going to go. There weren't really any questions to ask, which I actually think lends itself to the fact that like you don't have to have done your homework to watch the Acolyte.
Right.
You can come in and
which was
go,
a
hey,
relief
here's
for
the Star
me, yeah.
Wars.
Yep.
Yeah. You know, and for those of us who are, I don't think my dad's actually aware that the High Republic is even a thing. I probably used that phrase describing this series to him.
Yep.
But all I had to tell him was this is 100 years before 100-ish years before the Phantom Menace.
Yep.
And he went, oh, okay.
Yep.
And that's all he needed to know. And he liked it. And he said, he said something about, he's like, so they're twins. And I was like, yeah, they're twins. And he was like, cool. He's like, and when does it come on? I was like, next Tuesday, another episode. Like, he was happy. He was ready to go. There was not, he didn't have the preconceived notion thing that your dad had because he saw, an article.
Right.
But he also wasn't like, dude, what the hell? Why are there all these different kinds of people in it? Like, he just went, ooh, Star Wars. Let's go.
Yeah. Well, I asked my 11-year-old son, I asked Jackson after the show, I said, what did you think of it? And he said, I think it's the best Star Wars show that I've seen, which is wild. And I think, if you think about one of the things that people say about this show, and as you just alluded to, you don't need to know anything going in. You don't even need to know anything about Star Wars going in. It's so accessible in that you can go in, you see, okay, there's this assassin and she's going after this woman. And apparently she's part of some Jedi order. Okay, good. And that's it. And just run with it. And I think that's great. I
still have a theory at some point that I want to test, but I have to find the right time to attempt to do it. But I want to get my wife to watch Andor, my wife not being at all a Star Wars person.
Yeah.
And just say, hey, here's a show I want you to watch, because I think it falls into that. Like, it's a good, intriguing drama show that happens to be set in the Star Wars universe. But there's no lightsabers. There's no Force. There's I think that I would love to I want her to give me an honest opportunity to go watch the show with me and tell me what you think, because that's a real test if we're being honest.
Yep, for sure. 100%. So let's talk a little bit about Royal Fino. Well, welcome to the show, Royal Fino. Nice to have you. I was very curious about how kids would take the show, because it's good. It's got some childish prequel qualities, but a lot of themes are pretty dark and adult. Yeah, I think if you think about the prequels in general, I think that's a great point. The prequels in general are very dark. It deals with loss. It deals with love. It deals with not being able to pursue your passions the way you want to, and it leads to mass murder, killing children. But it still works for kids, and I think that's one of the great things about this so far. But let's talk. I'm going to bring Lloyd, if you want to join us. I want to bring you in, and I want to talk a little bit about some theories among all of us.
Yeah.
About, well, first of all, Lloyd, what's your on a 5-star rating? What do you give Acolyte?
I was muted. I would probably give it about a 4. Well,
about a 4.
3.5 out of 5.
Okay, that's fair. That's kind of where I had it. Yep.
Totally.
And looking forward to it, but done in such a way that it's like, okay, give me the next one. Like yeah.
I think for me right now, the show is very much sticking to the High Republic flow, and that it's a slow burn until things start happening, and then it's just go.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's for the first couple episodes we're gonna be trying to get through it, but once things start kicking off, I think we'll be all right.
That's awesome. Cool. All right. So there is. I think we thought initially the first mystery was going to be, okay, who's killing the Jedi? Well, they gave that away.
They gave that away in the first 2 minutes.
Then the question was, why were there 2 Mays on the poster? Well, they gave that away right after that, which was great. So the real mystery now, I think, is who's the Kylo Ren cosplayer standing at the end of the reef there on what could be Octo. There's a couple theories out there, but there's a theory that seems to be taking the lead, which is enough to make me think that it's not the right answer. But Lloyd, let's start with you. Who do you think of the character, or is it somebody? Is it one of the characters we've seen, or is it a new character, a different character? Who is the smiling Knight of Ren looking dude? Because he's not a Knight of Ren, we don't know.
If I had to take a guess, I'm going to change my previous guess.
Okay.
I think this is a new character.
Okay.
But I think it's going to lead into somebody that we know, or at least have heard of. So I think for me to make that guess, I mean, this is 100 years before Phantom Menace.
Yep.
And if I had to guess, this guy is maybe 30, 35.
Okay.
So maybe even 40, depending on how they're going to do this. But I think ultimately it's not Plagueis. I think it's somebody new, but I think it's going to still end with Plagueis.
Cool. That would be cool.
Okay. That's where I'm at. I think it's a new guy that's going to lead into someone that we know.
Cool. Nick, you and I talked a little bit. We have similar thoughts, but I've also
that's okay. I have another outlier, so
I've put a couple different pins on the board and been thinking of a few things. But you and I both think, or recently in our discussion, thought that it's Chimere or
correct.
Yeah.
The bartender mixologist guy who just had too many little wisdom nuggets and too many little, he's a gun runner for the Hutts, and then the guys that show up at Kalnaka's place at the end of 2 are speaking Huttese. Like, there's a lot of little bits that are weaving together there that, and that could, like you said, be a part of the misdirect. That could be a part of that's what we wanted you to think.
Yeah.
So my other theory is somehow Marok returned, and we might as well bring in, because Marok was the smoke monster from Lost. Why doesn't he be allowed to get his start here and then, go from there? That works for me too.
So on the Chimere thing, I think a lot of the evidence points to him. First of all, if you look at from the slight frame that he has, that the other guy has, it seems to be there. He was not surprised by May when she attacked him in the street. He handled her very well. The other thing is, and I tweeted this the other day, and inevitably most of us will watch this episode one more time before the show starts. When you watch it next time, do like I did and have in your head that he is the bad guy, and his line delivery is like it's like the Joker. It's
almost really, a little one of these, like,
but it's like kind of like when he talks to May, and he's like, you look just like her. Like, it's kind of like he knows something. But here's my other theory, because again,
fire.
Maybe
I'm
maybe
he was that the guy out there.
He was the one that started. He didn't start the fire. It was always burning since the world's been turning.
Since course turning, yeah.
My other theory, and this one's way out there, and I haven't heard anybody say this, is that it's Vernestra Rowe. Couple reasons. You guys are like, what? No freaking way. Brian says his only negative is how Vernestra changed from the books. Okay, so this is where I'm going with this, and I don't read those books, as you know, Brian. There are lots of words and too many pages. Not even like comic books with pictures and color. But she's been around for 115 years or so. She's seen some shit, and her character, from what I'm hearing from people who are very familiar with it, has changed a little bit in the way she does things. And she's very apprehensive about letting Soul go out, and then decides, no, you go ahead, you go figure this one out. I feel like she may be comfortable with letting him find this stuff, or lead him to be the fourth one that's killed, right? Because she's trying to kill all 4. And the other thing is, she's the actress is Leslie Headland's wife, and why not give your wife the coolest role in the show?
Good job.
So I would, and I think, from what I know about High Republic, things turn on a dime, things get weird, things don't go where you expect, and I think all the High Republic fans would they'd fall over if it turned out that she was sort of leading the Sith. Now, the only reason I don't think it's her is because that voice is pretty male, but is also goes through some voice changing. It sounds like Knights of Melvin to me, and that's the thing that pulls me out of it every fucking time.
So there's a British YouTuber, right? Her name is Abigail Thorne.
Okay,
and I legitimately believe that she is playing the villain.
Abigail Thorne.
Yes, I believe that's her name, Abigail Thorne. I think that's her name.
Okay.
She announced a couple weeks back, maybe a month or so ago, that she was now part of Star Wars, that she couldn't talk about it, and she's the only character so far that we really haven't seen. So my money is on her behind that mask, and they're just like obviously putting the voice through the damn gnat, and they're just putting the voice through the voice changer. So I think that's her.
Okay, that could be.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But what character she is, I don't know.
I don't know.
Well,
but
I'm just here to tell everybody, Yord's not everything y'all think he is. Yord's going to disappoint you. I'm not on the Yord horde. I'm here to tell you right now.
I am not either. I was getting, I said it on Twitter and people were like, oh, you're crazy. I get like Anakin Clone Wars, the Anakin Clone Wars vibes from him. The way he delivers lines, the way he's kind of that way. And yeah, he's going to get frustrated. I think he's going to get sick of soul shit, just like Anakin got tired of Obi-Wan's and is going to lash. I don't like him either. I think he's
not my guy.
Yeah. He's very full of himself. I want to see more of his Padawan.
Yep. Jackie's cool.
Jackie, I think her name is, right?
Jackie? No. Well, Jackie's my favorite character, but more of Yord's Padawan. The
the one.
I was thinking of the other girl with soul.
Yeah. What is the what's
looks
the
like
race
Data or something, or Quark from Star Trek?
Yeah. But without a doubt, Jackie is my absolute favorite character on the show. I get, and you guys tell me if I'm crazy, I get serious Omega vibes from her, just because she's intelligent and she's permission to speak freely. I love when she did that. I loved.
He finally was like, you have to stop saying that. Yeah, you can just talk.
Exactly. You can talk. But it was funny to me because I realized that I thought she was very Omega-like when she was flying the ship and like calling in the arrest, from the from shining the light down. But I definitely get Omega vibes from her as a type of character. I'm not saying that nobody at me and say, well, she's not going to be Omega because Omega was a guy. I know she's not Omega. I'm saying Omega vibes and the way the character is delivered. I think she's great. Last question, guys, I guess before we close up the night, is Kelnaka going to get killed next episode? I mean, because we've got, yes, I'm with you, Lloyd. I am with you.
Might as well.
Yeah.
Turn it all down.
And I feel like they gave it away in the trailer. He's not there when they're all standing down the main villain and everyone lights up their light. He ain't there.
That's true. That's a good point. Yeah.
He's not there.
Honestly, at this point, the answer to every question is chair droids. So
somehow
I really don't have anything else to say to you.
Chair
droids.
Petition to change their name to Troids.
Troids, spelled with a CH?
Yeah.
Troids. Yeah. Okay.
Honestly,
we can do that.
I think we should call them Troids.
Wikipedia, who was here earlier, they left. I'll call them up. We'll get them to
just change them to Troids. They're not doing much else.
Troids.
Yeah.
I was already running through all the different permutations of like numbers and letters to make like Lazy Boy or CH1R or
Lazy Droids.
Lazy Droids.
There's a way to make that work.
But yeah, I think he's gonna die in the next episode.
I think so too, and I like Jonas.
Ariane did it in the first 5 minutes, and I was so pissed.
Oh, but didn't I tell you, Lloyd? I told you. I told you and your girlfriend she's gonna not last.
I said it too, and I just didn't want to admit it.
Didn't want to believe it.
And then I saw it and went, "You suck." And then Gloom Dick took to Twitter and said some stupid shit.
Well, and the other thing that's really interesting that took me a couple of minutes to realize was that May's last name is Anasea, right? And I'm probably saying it wrong, but the character played by, I can't remember her name, but there's a character named Mother Anasea.
Yes.
And so there's some weird connections there.
Pay attention to their names, though. They're Latin.
Yeah.
The names are Latin. May is like grief and something.
Osha is something else.
Osha is what is it? It's compatible something like it's allowable by law, something. Safety.
It's something wild.
Safety.
All the major characters are named after Latin.
Yeah, okay.
And they all mean something that's associated with their character.
Interesting. Yeah. So I'm curious as to where that's going to go. I've heard rumblings that episode 3 has some pretty dramatic, interesting things going on, and I know nothing about it, but I just can't wait for the internet to blow up about it. And I guess that's it. I think Kalnaka doesn't make it out of next week. And I'm just loving where it's going. The more I talk about it, the more I think about it. And actually, when we're done here, I'm probably going to go turn it on and watch it. Hi, Danny. Go Oilers, go. Danny, I love watching an Oilers game and then seeing her tweets with her amazing seats from the games. I want the cup back in Canada. I do not want the Stanley Cup in Florida. I'm sorry, but the Stanley Cup does not belong in a place.
Doesn't belong there.
It doesn't belong in a place where people go to get away from winter. No, it does not belong there.
As someone who lives the closest to Florida of all of us, I wholeheartedly agree.
Debatable, sir.
I
definitely live closer to Florida than you do.
Yeah, I don't want to live any closer to it, so you can have it.
Florida man. Guys, this has been a fun episode. Again, next week we'll take another deep dive into the Acolyte. I think we're gonna have a ton to talk about, and I'm excited. Hopefully we'll have some additional Star Wars news, and hopefully we will see all of you who joined us tonight next Thursday night, 8:00 Eastern time, like we do every single week. And Nick, may the Force be with you.
Always.
Just one more round, friend, then homeward bound, friend. Don't forget me in your dreams. Just one more song, friend, and then so long, friend. The nights get shorter, it seems. Just one more rhyme, friend. Yes, it's a crime, friend. But you know time, friend. Time can fly. So it's good night, friend. Good night, but not goodbye.